It's going to be tight. I hope this will work.
We'll figure it out.
Yes. Hi, don't fall off the edge, please. Don't push your. All right, again, thank you for coming out to tonight's candidate forum. We've got a lot of people on stage, which is good. There's a lot of activity. Just to introduce you real quick, the two on the end here are Dennis and Gary. They're running for mayor. And then the other 7 are running for city council. And the way that works here in Halstead, if you don't know, the top 3 vote getters win the seats. The top 2 vote getters will get 4-year terms. The third place vote getter gets a 2-year term, if that makes sense. So that's it. We're going to dive right in and get going because we got a lot of people that do a lot of talking. So we're going to let them do it, introduce themselves, and tell you why they're running, give a little opening statement, and we're going to start right here on the end with Dennis and let him go.
All right, good evening, everybody. Most of you probably recognize my face. I've been the mayor for almost 6 years now. When I started my term, it was trial by fire. That's when COVID hit, and I got to learn how to navigate a city through something that we'd never seen before, and that was a pandemic. Then I got to navigate us through Winter Storm Uri, and I think everybody in here probably remembers those gas bills. So I'm here to run again. I believe in economic development. I believe in trying to make improvements to our city and at the same time being responsible with taxpayer dollars. So.
I'm Gary Felber, pronounced F-A-E-L-B-E-R. Now, big question's been answered tonight. I grew up 60 miles north of here, a little town of Gypsum. I was on their city council for 10 years. Quarter the size of Halstead, but all the problems are the same. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and I would have stayed, but I was gifted with a job at Boeing, and I am just finishing 37 years of working at that plant, and I'll be retired this Friday and have lots of free time to be mayor.
My name is Brent Motke. I've lived in Halstead since 2008. Both my kids go to, Bentley Primary and then Halstead Middle School. Ultimately, I'm running for city council because a lot of people told me if I want to complain about something, then I should actually get involved in it. And so that's kind of why I'm here. I want to be more involved in the city.
I'm Ron Dick. Lived here 20 years. Don't know hardly anybody in town because for the 20 years I've lived here, I either was on the road or working nights. So I am retired and have a civil-minded duty to run for council.
My name is Amy Beck. Please forgive me, I am terrified of speaking in public. I've lived here since 2014. I've put 5 kids through this school district. I drive school bus part-time, own a quilting business. I've just been, obviously the best situation is what got me involved in running for council, but there's so much more going on right now than just that. I believe that there needs to be a lot more transparency between with what is going on in City Hall, and I would like to see that happen and to make sure that everybody's voice is heard.
I'm Shauna Will. I grew up here in Halstead and came back to Halstead to raise my family. I've worked here at the middle school since we moved back to town, and I have been on the city council the last few years. And I would like to continue to hold my seat on the city council because I feel like I've just kind of gotten my feet wet. I'm starting to kind of understand and learn more and more about how the city government works. I think unless you have been on a city council seat, you don't really quite understand the ins and outs of it. I think every meeting I learned a little bit more. I know I was scared to even talk the first meeting I was at. So I feel like I'm kind of just getting settled, and so I'd like to see what can happen over the course of the next few years as I build my confidence in that seat and I start to know more and more about the ins and outs of city government. And so I think that tied into, I do have a passion for the community, a passion for our kids. My kids are still growing up in this community. I grew up in this community. One of my very first writing assignments was about what it means to have dragon pride. And if you were in my 6th grade class, my very first year, you will remember that writing assignment. But dragon pride means a ton to me. It's more than just the sports and the athletics. It's more than the academics. It's about the kind of person you become when you say you're a dragon. And when you're part of Halstead community, you leave my classroom, and if you don't know that that means something to you, then you didn't listen to any of my speeches in my class. So I want to continue that ripple effect through the community and continue to have an active voice on the city council seat.
My name is Roger Keating. I have lived here in town with my wife for 27 years now. I love small town life. I've lived in big cities, and I can tell you that I will never live in a big city again. There's a reason why I like small towns. They're safe, they're secure, you know your neighbors, the businesses know you. I find great joy and comfort in that, and I want to continue that. It's where I want to help encourage and help the businesses grow in the community. I'm not looking to bring in big outside companies. I am all for small towns where entrepreneurship is encouraged, and it gives great opportunity for people to try their hand at owning their own business, their own restaurant, their own construction company, what have you. It's where I think sometimes pulling in big stores just simply competes with the stores that we already have. So I think there's always a caution with doing stuff like that. But I really cherish the safety and security that we have with our kids being able to walk to school, walk to the park, and not worry about that, which I think a lot of larger towns have issues with. And so I just want to continue to keep our town healthy and safe and secure. So.
My name is Jim Van Scoik. A lot of you know me from being a fire chief here for 17 years. I retired a couple of years ago, actually 3 coming on now, believe it or not. Anita and I talk a lot about what brought us here. 20 years ago, I was a chief in another jurisdiction for a long time, and we talk about what would cause me to pick Halstead. And my original thought when I drove through town is, I think, man, this is really a neat town. And that was my first thought when I was driving over the tracks, which were a lot rougher. So was the bridge out front. I remember how bad the bridge was when coming into town, and of course it got fixed and all that stuff. And I still think about that today. And Anita said, "Are you sure you want to run again?" And I said, "Well, I didn't run the first time. I got the seat because one of my friends wanted to step down." And I said, "Well, I'll go in and see if I can get on." I haven't regretted it. There's been some challenging times, of course, this last year, but there always is going to be challenging times. And I think we all know that. I said this before, and I've said it in a meeting, I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. And that's, and I've said it, and I'll say it 100 times more. I may not always vote the way you want me to vote. That's not the point. But I will listen. And if you give me another shot or give me a chance, that's what I'm trying to do. And we'll see how it turns out.
My name is Denise Clausen, and my husband and I moved to Halstead back in 1994 when our kids were just getting ready to go through school. So both of our daughters went K-12 all the way through Halstead. They are proud dragons and have done pretty well for themselves. And so I think we've got a great school, and we chose this community to come and live here because of the school system, the town, the people in the community. Now that our girls are gone and graduated, we stay because of the community. I'm running again for the city council seat because I just have a passion for Halstead. I want to see us grow. I want to see this town grow economically. I want to see our infrastructure improve. And all of those things have a purpose, and all of those things are just not projects, but they help us with our just improving our daily life and our quality of life. So if you give me an opportunity to do that, I promise that's what I will try to do.
All right, first question. Will you support a citywide 20-mile-per-hour speed limit unless otherwise posted, and add at least 30 stop signs and yield signs? At this time, we'll start with Gary.
Hey, you're asking an old guy. I never make 20 mile an hour in town. I think other than maybe Halstead Road, which I personally would like to see slowed down, like I say, it's very difficult to drive more than 20 mile an hour on most of our city streets. So I would say it's not a problem.
How many stop signs?
30.
30 stop signs
And yield signs.
and yield signs?
Stop and
I mean, wouldn't it just be easier to and cheaper, honestly, to just make all the streets that run one direction be stop and all the streets that run in the other direction be yield? I mean, you can put it on a really big sign and be way cheaper than ordering that many signs. I mean, just efficiency, Save money. I pay those taxes too. So. Oh, as far as 20 miles an hour, I mean, isn't that already the speed limit? I mean, honestly. Except for in a couple places. Right? I mean, the dirt road's 30. It's unless marked. So 10th Street, that 10th Street dirt road, it's 30 miles an hour because it's marked now. Yeah. So I mean,
right.
other than that, yeah.
I would agree with the 20 miles an hour. It would be hard, like Gary said, to go over 20 on a lot of the streets. So the 30 stop signs, yield signs, I think we could probably use a few more. I know 4th Street has yield signs, but 5th doesn't. So.
The residential areas, I would definitely say 20 miles an hour if that's not what it already is. I also live on Halstead Road. I would not mind seeing that slowed down a touch. Most of the residential streets, like everybody has said, you're not going to go more than 20 because you're going to hit the little dippy-doos, as my kids always called them, and bottom out anyway. I would definitely be more in favor of more yield signs at more of the intersections because there are way too many times between cars and golf carts where I've seen way too many close calls. I would definitely say more yield signs would not be a bad idea, depending on the cost, obviously.
So a couple of things. Obviously, if that's something that we need to discuss because it's a major concern, I would be open to having that conversation. But I don't know that I necessarily see that a concern. But also, I hate to put a policy in place that can't be enforced. Like, I mean, so you can say that, but we only have one person that patrol, or two people or things like that. So sometimes, is it going to solve the problem? I mean, I don't know if changing a speed limit from 30 to 20 when it's maybe not a major problem. And then the other thing is the cost of putting up signage, I believe, can be fairly expensive. And so is that something, that would be something that we would have to, I guess, decide as a council if that, there's truly a need. I would want to see that there would be a need to then put that many stop signs or yield signs or whatever. And then I don't really necessarily see the problem with the speed limit necessarily when our roads already kind of heed themselves to slowing down naturally at intersections and such. So I don't know that that would necessarily be a concern of mine and a cost that I would want to put money into unless there was a substantial concern, I guess.
I'm not sure that a blanket answer would be appropriate. I absolutely believe in a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit around the park. That's something that's always bothered me, being somebody who we have lived on the park, and I've seen that Santa Fe and Third, I've seen people just really sail by. I've seen accidents at our corner. I've seen accidents on several corners. I think that would be the appropriate way to address it is what corners seem to be problematic, and then figure out if we need yields or stop signs at those versus just spending a whole lot of money on a whole bunch of stop signs and really just kind of really slowing traffic down unnecessarily by repeated stops. Yeah, I think Halstead Road, it's kind of crazy when you actually go the speed limit on that through town and realize, wow, that's how fast you can go. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind if that was lower, and yeah, just assessing where it's appropriate for things to be slowed down versus just, yeah, let's slow everybody down and put stop signs on every corner. It just seems a little excessive. So,
Being an avid walker that I am, people have seen me walk all over town, for sure. I can relate to some of the speed that happens that you don't necessarily see when you're in a vehicle. I mean, I see it when I'm walking, that's for sure. I live on Halstead Road. I have the unique experience of having 45 in one lane and 55 in the other. And the Jake brakes to boot. So regulating that stuff is pretty tough. Putting a bunch of stop signs on in different areas and yield signs. I agree we probably need some yield signs in particular sections, but we always talk about cost and cost benefit. I know that if somebody got hit, then the cost is too much. But we also have to have a plan in place and kind of look at it first, and get a general consensus that way. That's my take.
Well, I do believe that state law says that in residential areas that the speed limit's 30 miles an hour if it's not posted. And then if it needs to be lower than that, then it should be posted. As far as putting up 60 signs, that's going to cost a hunk of money because they're not cheap. They're not 30 or 40 bucks to put in a stop sign or a yield sign. But if there's problem areas, I'm open to looking at that and let our police chief go ahead and run that data and see are there sections in town that we need to be looking at reducing speed limits? Do we need yield signs? Do we need stop signs? But again, you can't make those decisions unless you've got the data in front of you to do that. And my other concern would be enforcement. And we can make all these blanket statements, but unless we allow our police department to enforce it, then it becomes a moot point.
All right, next question. Would you support a battery energy storage system being Halstead if it used a safer system like sodium ion instead of lithium ion? And we are to Brent this time.
That's a good question. I wouldn't say that anything is a definite yes. I believe everything needs any type of BESS, whether it's lithium or sodium. I would believe that everything comes down to regulation at the end of the day. Like, if we don't regulate things properly, it doesn't matter what we do or a private company comes in and wants to build. Because right now, I mean, currently, obviously, someone wants to build a lithium plant. Great. But if we don't regulate that properly and say we vote against them coming into town, what's going to stop the federal government technically from coming in and saying, hey, we're going to build one anyways, and you have no say about it? So if we put the proper regulations in place, at that point in time, they're going to have to follow it. So whoever builds will follow it. Do I like sodium better than lithium? Yeah. I've researched it, and it's safer, but at the end of the day, it's kind of everybody's decision.
Can we pause this? Did I skip you on the speed limit sign? I did, didn't I? Okay, I apologize.
If you want my response on that, Bill,
I would like it.
it would be that 20 mile per hour citywide, I don't know that is necessarily a necessary thing. I agree with Roger that around some of our parks, it'd be a good idea to look at that. There are definitely some intersections that could stand to have some better markings, either stop or yield signs, and I think we'd have to look at that on a case-by-case basis. And I'm glad to hear that most of these candidates up here were budget sensitive on that stuff, because that is very important. So that's my position on speed limit and signs, and I agree with Gary that Halstead Road being at 45 right now, it would be nice to trim that down, because then we could all go down it on our golf carts. Because technically right now you're not supposed to be on Halstead Road on your golf cart, and if we could get that down to 35, then we could. So, yeah, and that's probably a deal with it being a county road. We can't do that.
All right, well, I apologize. We'll get back to the
It's
other
okay.
question.
I'm used to being ignored by you, Bill.
Now.
You probably want me to go first on this one, though. Or we're in the best question.
Well, we're to Ron on that. And do I need to reread it? Or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Currently, what I've researched on the sodium is zinc-based, and that is probably not much any safer environmentally than the lithium. So I would be opposed to any of those. So.
Myself personally, I have problems with BESS in general because of the proximity to my home. I'm right across the street from it, as is Gary. But it doesn't come down to my personal opinion. It's something that the city needs to vote on, that the residents need to vote on. I believe that there are problems with all of them. I believe the technology is too new at this point, and that we need to wait and figure out what is the best solution. And the best solution could be something completely different that has absolutely nothing to do with batteries, and could be something else to put on that piece of land that is something sustainable, that actually employs local people and generates income at the same time. But I don't think it comes down to what I want. It is, what do the people of Halstead want?
My stance on any of the best projects is that I need to have all the information and be educated about the projects. And so from the very beginning, whether it's lithium, whether it's sodium, whether it's water, power, whatever, I just want all of the facts and all of the details to be able to make an educated decision, and take that to people and have that conversation. Because while obviously I never ever would want to put our community at risk. That's going to be my number one thing. If somebody says it's risky, then I'm not in favor of that. But I do think that I owe it to the community to have all the facts and the information about a project before any decisions move forward or get made. That includes, you know, proper regulations and things like that. And so I think that's a tricky thing to say that you're either for or you're against at times when technology evolves. And also when you're looking at economic opportunities for your community, I think that you can't always just say no. You have to be open-minded to gather all the facts and the information before a decision is made. And so I feel like I would need to have more information before I could say one way or the other.
It's obviously a complicated question. It's a new technology that hasn't had any of these go through a full lifespan. So there's still so many unknowns. And now that we've realized, or you know, we as a country, as a globe, on these best systems, that lithium isn't the best, and now they're looking at alternatives. Whoever is the first to start these is the first, and they're going to find the new problems coming out. And I don't necessarily think that Halstead should be the place to be the test bed. I think we need to think more creatively than that and see if it's fixing a problem we really don't have. These things are made to help regulate the power, and last I checked, my house hasn't had big power surges, and it just doesn't fix any issues that we have. So we don't need to take the risk. This isn't something that we have to have. So I would just say it's worth looking into, but I sure am not going to be signing us up for it. And yeah, I'm extremely cautious and extremely hesitant. There's more than just the system itself. There's the companies building it, properly vetting them. There's a lot of issues with the money behind all of that. It's a complicated issue, and it's just something that overall I don't think is quite the best fit for our small town.
Obviously, we knew this topic would come up, and I'm glad that it had come up earlier on, so we could all get it out of the way and move on to other stuff, to be basically honest with you. When I first got into the council and I didn't know anything about it, absolutely nothing. And then about 6 months in maybe, then I sat at one meeting where we talked about it about 3 minutes. And then I got a deluge of messages and things about it, and boy, I got educated fast. Now, although I teach hazmat and I teach it at the college level, but for firefighters and fighting fires on this particular subject matter, it's something that you just don't see every day. And my resistance to the project, on my part, I'm speaking of my part, was just because I just don't know. And if I don't know, I'm not going to offer it up to our citizens if I don't know. And that's the way I looked at it. That's the way I approached it. I'm going to say the same thing about the other type of battery system. I don't know. And if I don't know, I can't throw my support behind it without being able to study it or being able to, as a councilman, to set regulations in place long before we get involved with bringing one in. That's my approach.
I've been consistent on this issue since day one. We don't have enough data to make an educated decision. And how you get that data and that information and the studies is by letting the vetting process work. There was a vetting process for this that was created long before any of us, I believe, became city council members. And you let that process work. There's a misconception that once a company comes in and asks for a special use permit, it's a done deal. No, that is the very beginning. This is then when that triggers your environmental studies that tells you whether or not it's going to hurt our aquifers. Then you also get specialists and people that understand the environment and understand energy. Then we can start, and then we have that data to make those educated decisions. Every single one of us that's sitting up here lives in Halstead. And for anybody to think that any single one of us would ever do anything to harm the city or its citizens is drinking the wrong Kool-Aid, in my opinion, because we want the best. We live here. We want the best for the community. We can't shut down any possible economic development. And there's been a lot of talk about taxes, and the city, raised 5 mills. I have no clue what this bond issue is going to do to my house and those kinds of things. But we're not talking about, if we can get some of these and we get the information and we start looking, we need some real economic development in the city of Halstead, and not something that's going to lower our taxes by 1 or 2 or 3 mills. If some of this stuff goes through, we're talking possibly 30 mills reduction in our property taxes. Again, nothing says I'm for this. What I am for is letting the vetting process work so we can get that data that's done and done by experts and engineers in their field that have to sign it. They're putting their licenses on the line if they come up with information that's false. And if there's anything in there that's going to harm the community, it's a hard no. But we've got to get that information first before we can start saying no to everything.
My turn, Bill?
Your turn.
Probably ought to take some of my time away. I think it's pretty obvious how I feel about it. I've been pretty vocal about it. Originally, we were looking at a lithium solution. We put together our volunteer board of P&Z members. They came together and they came to a decision that it could be done safely with lithium with the right regulations, and I believe that to be true. However, with the public resistance, that forced me to look outside of my box, and I did find the EOS Energy technology, and I'm still in communication with those people now, and that is a zinc-based Z3 zinc bromide battery. It's totally different than the sodium-ion battery you guys are talking about. They're two different things. And with the EOS technology, that battery is advertised as non-toxic, non-flammable. So I'd like to know where Mr. Dick's getting his information, because they couldn't say that if it wasn't true. The federal government would stop in. So there's a lot of exciting things that could be happening. I'm still pursuing EOS Energy as a possible solution. That would be a safe alternative for Halstead.
When this subject first came to light, one of the senior members of the city council said, "I want this brought to a vote by the people." And I am so happy that coming up next month, we are going to listen to the people of Halstead.
All right. Next question. How do you plan on bringing business development to Halstead? And this time we're at Ron. Start.
Oh, I think the first thing we need to do is advertise all the spaces that we do have available, realtors, not just economic development company or the corporation. It needs to be sold business-wide as a anything that we have out there available. So land, businesses that, and awful space, offices, you know, that needs to be advertised other than just through the economic development.
I think the city definitely needs to market itself as a location for businesses. We have the space in the industrial park. We've got the 60 or 70 acres on the southwest corner of town that the city owns now. We've got the empty church. We've got, I think there's another property or two, I'm not even sure. Those areas need to be marketed to companies, small businesses, any kind of businesses that can come into town, that can employ local people, that will pay property taxes, that will generate revenue, businesses that are sustainable and that aren't going to be obsolete in 5 or 10 years to where we have to turn around and remarket it again. I just think that we need to look outside the box, market what we've got, and bring more businesses to town.
I think that we could, we've seen a lot of people show up to city council meetings in regards to the BEST project, but I know there are people in our community that could also bring their ideas and their input about these types of things in regards to economic development. And unless there's a BEST project on the agenda, we rarely see anyone show up to a city council meeting. So if that's something that's important to you, then I'd love to have that discussion with you, because I don't have all the answers, but I know that our community is fantastic and there's amazing people in our community, and together we could brainstorm some fantastic ideas, but I can't do that by myself. And we can't do that by ourselves, but together I know our community can do great things. We've seen it happen when you guys are passionate about something, and if you're passionate about bringing great businesses to our town, then let's partner together and see what kind of great things we can do in a positive impact in that way.
The reality is Halstead is a bedroom community. I think most folks in town probably work in Newton or Hutch or Wichita. I would love to see us get a Mo Ridge, a Bunting Magnetics, you know, one of those great smaller companies that has lots of jobs for folks, whether they're in management or on the shop floor. But those are really tricky to find. Those are hard to pull to little towns. I think sometimes the best way to do that is to be the darn charmingest, most beautiful, quaint little town that some CEO just says, hey, I just love that town and I think that's where I want to raise my family, so that's where I'm going to take my business. It's tricky to do, but I think we just might be able to do it. I would love to see that happen, but that's not something I think that even the city council can do. I think as a whole town, we really need to focus on that and working together to try to attract those type of businesses. It would be great, but I think it is going to be a real challenge. And I think in this day and age, we're seeing a lot of manufacturing coming back to the U.S. Now's a good time to do it. Now's a great time to put forth the best we can. And yeah, I think it's going to come down to just maybe some clever marketing and really letting people know what our town is here and that we're here for that.
I would echo many of the things that are said. One of the toughest parts about being in a rural community, and we all know that, is that we can only be what we are. And what we are is a very beautiful town. It's a great town to live in. There's a lot of great people here. But I also would say that there's limitations in a rural small town that we know are there. And Roger brought it up. Shauna did too. It's just, what do we sell? And we need more than just, and she's exactly right when she said we get a lot of people in on one particular subject. We need more of that involvement. We need more of the ideas, things of that, to bring community betterment. I think I commented in our questionnaire that it needs to be Halstead based, because we can't base our economic development off of anybody else but ourselves. We know what we are, been here a long time, we know the people that live here. That's not saying it doesn't change as we go, but if you look at the facts of the population that we've had over the years, the size of the school has been pretty much 3A for as long as I've seen out on that state championship banner out there in the park. That's telling me that the growth part is always going to be kind of what it is. And we heard that in the school board discussion when they talked about, boy, we'd love to get a bunch more students in here. But with that, that comes with the infrastructure and everything else that comes with that. So if you get new businesses in here, you got to have that infrastructure. You got to have places for them to live. You got to have all the things that come into that, and it's a lot more complex than what people think, because there's only so much that, you know, with the county takes its share and the state takes its share. We all know that, and the school takes its share.
Thank you, Jim.
So
That's a tough one, because, you know, like Roger said, we are a bedroom town. It wasn't like that when we moved here. There's plenty of people in here and who are watching online that remember the glory days when the Halstead Hospital and Hertzler Clinic, and we had people coming into town. I did my grocery shopping before I went home because I was tired at the end of the day. But I think the use of that building is going to change dramatically. But how do we make ourselves attractive to other businesses? And how do we bring those in? We're limited. If we were to find somebody who would come in with, you know, let's say even 10 or 15 positions, do we have enough housing to bring people in? So it's very complicated. There's multi-levels. It's more than just bringing a business in, like Jim said. It's the infrastructure. Can the school district handle the surge of the kids that potentially could come in? Where are they going to live? Do we have affordable housing? What do our roads look like? Even what does our sewer system look like? So there's lots of different things, but I think you continue to market with the Harvey County EDC. They've got the pulse on those types of things. Some of the things that the city has done to attempt to try to bring some businesses in, I think we continue to do that, and we market what we do have. Somebody brought up the church. That because it's not ADA, if somebody were to come in and to do something else with that church, or make it another use besides a church, they've got to make it ADA compliant. And so I think that's kind of a barrier as well, because that gets really expensive when you start doing or changing uses of buildings. So it's really complex, lots of layers. I think we continue to work at it.
You're up.
Why don't you run that question by me again, Bill? It's been a while since I heard it.
Let me find it for you. What did I do with it? Well, I misplaced it.
And my time don't start until he reads me the question.
You're almost up. How do you plan on bringing business development to Halstead?
Well, I think I've already been working on that. Obviously, you know, Halstead supports the Harvey County EDC. I sit on that board. Other things that we've done in the governing body, most recently, we put together a plan to build that speculative building in the industrial park, and we secured grant money that paid for over 50% of that building. Granted, we don't have it leased out or sold yet, but there's hope that that'll happen. And then for the last 6 months, I've spent a lot of my time on the phone with Mr. James Rollins out of New York City to transition those hospital properties over so we could get new ownership for those. And if people aren't excited about that particular opportunity, you need to check your pulse, because we've been needing to get something done with those properties for a long time, and I don't know what that looks like, but at least now we have hope. The industrial park, it's always been a target of mine to get some industrial growth out there. Now, not everybody agrees with my ideas, but at least I'm trying. And we'll just see. I'm going to keep hammering away as long as people want me to.
Halstead, has been stated, is a bedroom town. And in order to get a new industry or more business in here, we're going to have a good foundation. The number one thing is I do not believe that government should be in any form of business. One thing that government has proven over the years is they're really horrible at being in businesses. But in order for young people to stay here, we're going to have child care available, and for industry to look at, if we move this in here and we have this many employees, we're going to have the different things to support that. That's where the city should come in and help. Not particularly own, but help with that. Be the foundation to get this rolling.
So bringing in more businesses is a great question. I honestly don't know how I would do that, other than talk to the businesses that are already here. Why are they here? Why do they continue to stay? Why don't they go somewhere else that's cheaper? I mean, they're here for a reason. They stay for a reason. Find out why they're here. I mean, I like to live here. I would love to work in Halstead. I would rather not drive to Wichita every single day to go to work. I mean, I like driving. My wife hates it, but you know. So I would love to have more jobs in Halstead because I would work at one.
All right, next question. First, I just want to say that the recent sidewalk project on this side of Main Street looks fantastic. Ethan and his team did a phenomenal job. I also appreciate the work being done to secure a grant for a new playground. Looking ahead, what other areas do you see as opportunities to beautify Halstead and ensure our residents have access to great amenities here in town so families don't always have to drive to Newton or Wichita for recreation or community life?
That is something that I have thought about quite a bit. Like Jim, I walk quite a bit. I'm trying to get back into running again, but we won't talk about that. I am thrilled with the sidewalk project. I do think that a lot more sidewalks and streets need to be repaired to make them safer. North Street obviously is already on the list. That's my own pet peeve since I'm still paying on my broken ankle from that street. I would love to see some lighting up on the walking path somehow. I don't know how that could happen. Lighting, benches, make that a more beautiful, even more beautiful than it already is. Just anything that can be done to the downtown area and even the residential areas, cleaning up the streets, cleaning up the gutters, anything like that that makes the town prettier and safer.
So when I first came on, my, I guess, drive was Parks and Rec. I mean, I grew up in an athletic family. My kids play sports. We travel outside of the community to play sports. And so that was really my, I guess, drive. But if I've learned nothing else in the last 2 years, is that everything takes forever in government to accomplish. And so I think it even more so is important for people to step up. I mean, it's going to take, I mean, in a small town, we are financially, you know, there's been a little bit of controversy in regards of like the mayor saying, well, we're financially secure, but why are we saying, well, because we are, and because we've watched what our spending and we've tried to allocate in certain areas. However, frugal spending is important as well in our current situation. And so we have to stick to the budget that we have in place. And while updating our parks and updating our recreation facilities is a dream that everyone has, the reality is that all costs a lot of money that we don't have right now. And so the economic part of that helps fund those things. But in the meantime, I think that community involvement becomes even more important. I don't know how many times our rec commission is asking for people to volunteer to help with, I mean, it's going to take people stepping up and being willing to help your neighbor or help a youth organization or do some of these things that historically Halstead was great because we had lots of people who cared about those things and made those things happen. And we need people to be willing to fill those people's shoes in our churches, in our gyms, on our rec fields.
Thank you, Shauna.
So it's going to take a combination of things, funding and our community members coming together.
So I am a designer by trade, a creative person, so I have lots of ideas on this type of thing. And I actually don't want to say too many of them because it's like, oh, but you said you were going to do this. And then it's like, well, where is that mini golf course? Where is that Frisbee disc? You know, so I don't want to say a bunch of things. I haven't been let behind the curtain, right? I haven't seen the details of the budget. So, right, the money is the big thing. And I want the town to be fiscally responsible. I don't want to be spending money on things that just sit, but I would love to see some development, and I think there's lots of opportunities for fun stuff like that for the parks. We've got land down south now. The town is growing to the south east. You know, seems like there's good opportunity for a park or something down that way to make that attractive for that side now, because we've got the park in the middle of town. And I think there's lots of ideas. I mean, the community can give us lots of ideas. I think the trick is to just say, okay, here's a great one, here's one that we can afford, here's one that we can find a grant for, and just together, I think those are some things that we as a town can do, and I'm all for that. And so,
One thing, if you don't sit on a council and you don't look at the budget sheets, you don't understand sometimes, just like you would on a school board. You know, there's a lot of want to and really want to, but the want to is one thing, and being able to physically do it without blowing the bank is a whole different story. We talked, Shauna mentioned that things take forever, and it does seem like it takes forever. We got the safe routes for school sidewalks, and I don't know how long we've been working on that, but ever since I got on there, and we're still, you know, just one, in that example, one person not agreeing to it held us up for months, and you don't see that. Those kind of things, or we've got several parks. We got a new park down there with a family. We worked with the family on 10th Street. We ran Main through there, and that's a little park that's going to go in there. Been looking for funds on that, and I know Ethan has applied for grants. Grants is something I know quite well. But I also know one thing about grants is you can apply for them, and it may be 2 years before you see them. So I encourage people to get involved, to make what, you know, come forward, see what we can do. That's the best we can do, and then figure out how to pay for it. You know, because that's always, when it comes right down to it, that's another concern we all have. We all pay the same taxes, and we all have to look at those end results and see what we can and can't do.
Thank you.
Boy, do I have ideas. If I was a multimillionaire, we'd have a lot of these things. But we have some really neat spaces here in Wichita. I love Riverside Park. I would like to see that used more often. I'd love to see the little band shell that's down there get some improvements on it. I'd like to see Scout Cabin get improved. You know, my girls went through Girl Scouts in that thing, and we've had camp. Mary Wilson and I have had camp in that thing, and it has served its purpose, and it just needs a lot of TLC. I would love, and I'm going to probably get some pushback on this, but I would love to see a softball, baseball complex that was such that we could actually hold outside tournaments here. My girls growing up both played club ball, and I don't know, we went all over the place. And it was like you go to these small communities and wow, I wish we could have something like that in Halstead to support our kids and to support our rec, but it all takes money to do all of that.
Brent does too.
All right.
That means you're due to answer too, Gary.
Looking ahead, what other areas do you see as opportunities to beautify Halstead and ensure our residents have access to great amenities here in town so families don't always have to drive to Newton or Wichita for recreation or community life?
Well, actually, that's the one good thing about that bond issue the school put through. Those new ball diamonds are great, and I think anybody coming into Halstead that sees those diamonds sees them as a good value for the community. And Jim touched on it. When we put the new Main Street extension in, that did set aside some park ground over there. That'll be the Ozzie Lehman Park, Jim, just to help you remember that. That's coming. Like Jim said, we've been going out for grant monies on that. That was one of my biggest focuses when I come in as mayor was, I pay a lot of taxes too, and I'd like to see some of that tax money come back to Halstead. So I'm very, very much in favor of us going out for grants whenever we can, and we've been really successful. Safe Routes to School grant he's talking about, the first phase, we picked off $60,000 to help with the preliminary engineering. Then we got another, I think it was $433,000 to go towards the actual construction that hasn't started yet. And that North Street grant, the DOT had never given out a grant over $1 million, and when Ethan and I put that together, we decided to go in a 50-50 cost share instead of an 80-20 like most cities do, because we needed $1.5 million. And when he called me and told me we won that project, I was ready to do triple backflips, and then I was like, oh crap, we got to figure out how to come up with our half of the money, but we had that figured out. So yeah, just continuing to go out for grants to help with some of these, and park improvements are on our list. We just need to try to get the funding put together to do it.
Man, that's a big question. And how do you go about it? Well, it takes a long time, a lot of ideas. We need input from the people of what they'd like to see in our parks. I look at things in a little different way. I see our streets in such disrepair that a lot of what I would push for would be to get some of these streets that are just falling apart in shape. The parks and so forth, we'd really need input from the people as to what direction they'd like to go there.
I'll be honest, I haven't played in a park in a while. I mean, it's been a long while. But I did start playing at the golf course park, and it's been a lot of fun. Honestly, I have 2 kids. They both go to the park. They don't go all the time. I honestly wish people would, you guys are not going to like this, get rid of your cell phones for a little bit and actually go outside. My kids love tablets. Instead of going outside, I have to physically force them to go outside. But park improvement, like pretty much everybody up here said, is not my decision. It's y'all's decision. And I would want to hear from everybody. Just because my kids like something doesn't mean somebody else's kid's going to like it. So, and again, it also comes down to funding. You can't do it unless you have money. And grants a great place to get free money. So.
I'm going to, kind of like everybody else is, we've got to get input from everybody on this subject. It's not what we can do for the community or what the council can do for the community other than try to get grants and such, but to try to get input from the whole community.
Well, guys, we got a lot of more great questions, but we're running out of time, so we're just going to end it with give you a chance of closing statement and final words, and we start with Shauna this time, I believe.
I think I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the community for those of you that have taken time to message me, to visit with me, to share your thoughts and concerns, whether or not we agree or we disagree or we have seen eye to eye. I feel like I have always been someone that is willing to listen, and I appreciate those of you coming to me and sharing your thoughts and your concerns about issues or your dreams for our community. And so I want to take this opportunity just to say thank you. I also want to just say that I appreciate everyone coming out here, but mostly I want to say that I do want to continue serving in this position, and I do want to continue advocating for our community moving forward, whatever that looks like together. And if you haven't already reached out to me, I would encourage you to do so. So thank you, and everyone have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the questions. I would just say if I was able to serve you all on the council, I would do my best to help with actually providing the basics, the making sure the infrastructure is here for this town, whether it's looking at the sewers, looking at the roads. I'd like to try to be as fiscally responsible as the city can be, so that we stretch things as much as possible, so that it really is a benefit for everybody, and so that everybody can see some of improvements. I'd encourage you all to vote. You can early vote, so you can vote tomorrow if you want. And just know that I love our little town, and I don't mind it being a little town. That's why I'm here. I'm proud to be in a little town, and I just look forward to your vote, and hope that I can serve you in the coming years.
First off, I want to thank everybody for being here. I love to see the younger people here, and I appreciate you all for coming. I appreciate you listening tonight. You know, not everything that we're going to say is going to make you happy, and not everything that we do as a council, speaking for myself, that sets on there is going to make everybody happy. That's not the point of being on there. The point is to serve. And my job is to serve the citizens of our community, to listen, to, if somebody sends me a message, to answer that question as fast as I can. Like I said, I won't promise I'm going to answer what you want me to say, but then again, that's not always the point. I know I lived through the time when the city was paying off the levy, and times were pretty slim there. We didn't have the hospital, so I've been through that as an employee, and now I'm sitting on the other side, and I found out, man, that job's not too easy either. But I do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your support in a couple weeks, and you can vote right now if you want. I already did. So I was by the courthouse and thought now's a good time to do that. So, all right. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming out, and thank you for your questions. And I just want to say that it has been an absolute privilege to serve all of the citizens of Halstead and to listen to all of the citizens of Halstead. As a nurse, that is what I do on a daily basis, is I listen and I serve. Sometimes I don't always get to do the things that I would like to do, but that's okay. And that's part of that servant mentality that goes along with it. It's been an absolute joy and a privilege to serve all of the citizens of Halstead. And I would appreciate your vote in the next couple of weeks, or if you voted early, I'd appreciate that as well. And if there's enough votes that allow me to continue to serve as the citizens of Halstead, I promise I will listen and do the best that I can to serve everybody.
Back to me, Bill.
Yep.
Look, I'm going to continue to make myself available for anybody in town that wants to talk to me. I think I'm probably one of the easiest governing body members to find. I'm always out in the public. I may not be your cup of tea. I'm kind of a stubborn old man that's set in my ways, and I'm very data driven. If you want me to change my mind on something, bring the data forward that supports your side, and I'll listen to you. But I have to have the data. I just can't make any decisions that affects the whole community based on opinions. So I do want to continue serving for a multitude of reasons. One of them, I want to continue to watch Shauna grow, because I love Shauna's passion for the position, and I love watching her as a new junior council member, and she's doing a great job. So that's all I got to say this evening.
I would like to find, and I know that somebody on our city team already has an idea, how we can be more transparent and communicate with all of the citizens in the city without them having to go out of their way to find out something. Everything that the city's doing should be public knowledge, and it should be right out there for everybody to see. I've heard it said that we don't have the money to pay city help. We can't keep wages, we can't pay wages to keep good health. Well, the most important thing you can have in any business, which this city is a business, is good health. If you have a good employee, you better find a way of paying him. And if we have 10 $1,000 donations that we have to say no to in order to up our wages for our city employees to keep the good ones, then that's what we're going to do. I don't believe in giving away tax dollars outside of our city, especially. That money was collected from us property owners to take care of this city. And there is so much infrastructure in this city that is in desperate need, and it's going to be huge money. And hopefully Ethan can find grants, and we can take care of some of that stuff. But mostly I want to be able to find a way to communicate with our city. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for coming out, even if it's past your bedtime. At the end of the day, I'm not a politician in any form. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm an employee. I just want to, like I said, I'm running mainly because I had questions, I had concerns, and other people do, and I want to be able to serve my community. So, thank you.
I want to thank everybody for all the questions. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a politician. I have been a troubleshooter, maintenance, and variety of industries. And so I've had to work with a multitude of people and a multitude of backgrounds. So that is, my background is I want to be able to help the community the best I can by serving as a council member. And thank you, and get out to vote.
Last but not least. I also want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I love seeing that more and more people are getting involved in the council meetings, myself included. I would just love to see more transparency in our city government and making sure that money is spent in the right places. Everything that everybody has said here, and I just want to make sure that everybody's voices are heard. The big decisions, the huge decisions don't need to be made by whoever ends up sitting at that table in the council room. The big decisions need to be put to the people, and we need to listen to what everybody has to say. Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause. And let's also give Halstead Life Church a round of applause for hosting this. They did a great job, and we appreciate it. Appreciate you guys coming out. Like they said, early voting's open. And November 4th is the date, so go out and vote.